they're not going to build anything. They'll stop all building, all construction. This happened again in 2008, 9, and 10.
Let's say I've got a house and I paid $500,000 for it, and it's worth $400,000. And so I'm underwater.
There's a ton of noise out there about the housing market. Headlines screaming about a cataclysmic correction or a massive collapse in buyer demand. And you've probably seen stuff like this. Now, since I've helped hundreds of people buy and sell real estate over the last 2 decades, I'm going to give you my honest thoughts. If now's the time to wait and hold until prices go down, or if this is just fear spreading across the media. So let's talk with what everyone's talking about, the national market and the so-called housing market crash. Let's take a look at a clip about what CNBC has to say.
Mark, on something that Diana just reported on pending home sales, which can often be seen as a leading indicator, the level at a record low. So worse during the financial crisis and the housing crisis. How bad is it out there for housing?
Bad. The housing market's in a deep freeze when it comes to home sales and origination volume. I just don't think this market's going to come back to life to any significant degree.
Now, this sounds scary, right? But here's the thing. Where's the proof? Let's look at the actual data instead of just the clickbait. So what's happening in the housing market nationwide? Lawrence Yun, a chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, has talked on the news and puts articles out quite often. He states the housing market has been tough and sales have been low, and rates could get slightly better, near 6% in 2025, as inflation is cooling, because the Fed will likely cut rates in response to the improved inflation in 2025, which means home prices could actually rise. Lawrence Yun also states that home sales will grow in 2025. And yet we are still in a tight market due to limited housing affordability and limited inventory. Watch this clip.
We have a very bizarre housing market at the moment. Home prices, record high, making it very difficult for potential first-time buyers to enter the market. We know about high interest rate and also the lack of inventory in the marketplace, especially mid-priced home, moderately priced home. At the same time, we are not getting the transactions. So home sales last year was essentially at a 30-year low. And this year so far, it is trending a little bit below that level. So we have very few people buying, yet home prices are at a record high.
So are home values really dropping, or is this just a slowdown? Most of the news is talking about the number of home sales slowing down, not home prices. Home equity and values are actually up. And if you see this chart here from late 2024, the average home is still worth 53% more than it was worth 5 years ago. But yes, higher mortgage rates did slow down the number of sales in 2023 and 2024. Plus, there's a supply and demand imbalance. The U.S. is short 3.7 million homes, making a major crash unlikely. And the number of sales is predicted to improve in 2025 and 2026, as you can see from this forecast chart, with new home sales expected to increase 11% and existing home sales expected to be up 9%. Again, this is the number of sales, not prices. Now, let's bring it closer to home of what's actually happening in San Jose, because real estate, after all, is a local market and supply and demand can really vary even in a specific neighborhood. So most homes put on the market in 2025 have already seen multiple offers. I've had buyers lose against 13 other offers, 4 other offers. The listings I sold had 5 offers. Another one just had a couple offers, but it really, again, depends on the neighborhood and where that's happening. But the average home sale was 8.7% over the asking price for the data closed in February. So yes, home sales are doing well. The number of home sales are up and the prices are up, but these are both seasonally expected here in San Jose. We expect more homes to come on the market after Super Bowl, and we expect home prices to go up usually in the spring as well. So you can see that here, that prices are increasing in San Jose. The current median home price is $1.75 million for San Jose, which is up 8.5% from last year. Now, put that in perspective, that's $135,000 gain on average for the median home in San Jose. Now, this chart, as you can see, shows an upward trajectory in the top orange and blue lines, which are average and median home prices respectively. So from the actual San Jose home sales data, you can see that prices are indeed going up, not down, and nowhere near close to a crash. So let's take a look at another perspective. How fast are homes actually selling and who's buying them? Well, homes are selling on average in 14 days, meaning demand is still quite strong for a home to sell in 2 weeks or less. And there's only 31 days of inventory before there are no more choices for home buyers. So look at this yellow supply line showing that supply is still quite tight. There's only about 295 homes for sale, which is a historically low number for March, with more than 50 of those home options over 2.5 million in the top end of the market. 40 of those options between 2 million and 2.5 million, leaving only 200 home options under the $2 million list price. And demand is still good. Currently, we have 291 homes pending compared to the 295 available. That's basically the same number of homes available right now that are already in contract. So as you can see, as a home comes on the market, it's getting into contract with the buyer quite quickly. So until the number of home sales drastically increase, meaning we have multiple months of inventory, home prices will continue to increase. So I don't see the multiple months of inventory coming anytime soon, which means the prices are likely to continue to increase, driven by our low supply. So let's look at a couple real homes on Zillow to compare what's actually happened. Now I'm going to pull homes that I personally sold in 2021 where I represented the seller and break down what's actually happened in the market since then. So let's start with the high-end home that I sold in Almaden Valley on Hill Point. This was a hilltop home, beautiful, expansive custom home with views of the entire valley. It sold for $3.5 million in late 2021. Today, it's worth $3.831 million. And put this in perspective, if you remember the market and the charts, our market actually corrected in 2022 when interest rates went from under 3% all the way up to over 6% in less than 6 months. Prices had to adjust for those home buyers out there. And yet still, with that adjustment happening, we are still up $300,000 on this luxury home in those 3 years, a little over 3 years, because I think they sold it in November 2021, and we're recording this here in early 2025. So it has not just been over 3 years for $300,000 appreciation. Okay, so let's look at another property. This is a home in Top Schools, 2,000 square feet. It sold in 2021 for $2 million. Today, Zillow says it's worth $2.3 million. So that's another $300K in 3 years, even with that correction in 2022. Now let's look at an entry-level home because not everybody has the $2 million budget, right? So this is a property sold in Blossom Valley in 2021 for $1.18 million. Today, it's worth $1.51 million. That's a $330,000 appreciation. If you look in this same pocket market of 95123 section of Blossom Valley, today you will find homes listed for 1.4, 1.5, even a larger home for 1.7 million. So let me know in the comments, do you think these prices are justified? So let's get back to the ultimate question. Should you buy a home in San Jose now? Well, that's a great question, but as you can see from the charts of home prices, there is a seasonality that humps with prices peaking usually in May, June, or July, and then softening sometimes a little bit in the fall. But that's a seasonality that we expect over the years. If you look at the general trend, prices are continuing to overall appreciate. And San Jose home prices historically have increased 6 to 8% a year or even more. So even after past market dips have happened, homes have always rebounded even stronger. So when you're buying a home as a long-term investment, you can expect long-term appreciation here in this area. So the ultimate answer of whether you should buy now or not depends on your financial situation So here's my take. You should buy now if you're planning to stay in your property 7 years or more, because that will guarantee your long-term investment can weather any market ups and downs. Secondly, you should buy if you can afford today's mortgage payments. They are high, with the interest rates being much higher than they were a few years ago. But putting in perspective, interest rates today are at the 30+ year average interest rate. So if you can afford the payments at the mortgage rates and housing prices today, then you probably should get in and do it, especially if you're going to be there for a long term. And you should definitely buy now if you don't want to risk even higher prices later in 2025 and 2026. Now, you should wait if you're really hoping for a price crash, possibly, but my expertise is going to tell you that may never happen. Or how you can time it and will you be able to time it is a whole nother picture and perspective. So really you should buy and hold. That's the best thing to do. But you should maybe consider waiting also if you really expect rates to drop. But to put that into perspective, if rates do drop, you're not going to be the only home buyer wanting to jump back into the market. There's going to be a lot of buyers jumping back into the market, pushing up that demand and potentially spiking prices up again. So keep in mind, yes, rent is expensive, but rent, you are not putting any of that money into your investment portfolio. When you buy a home, you are putting that money towards your equity. You are also getting tax benefits and you're getting appreciation benefits. So don't just compare your monthly rent to your monthly housing payment, compare the whole entire picture. That is what's really important. Having a house is emotional, but it's also in this area a financial decision, and you want to take into account the entire financial picture. So if you're thinking about buying and settling in San Jose, let's chat. I help clients navigate this competitive market every day. So if you have questions, I would love to chat with you. So just reach out at the number on the screen. Also, I really would love for you to drop a comment below. Do you think the San Jose's market will crash or will it keep climbing? I want to hear your opinions and engage in conversation. So check out the next video if you want to watch more great content.